Hi, everyone. This is Ken Rakowski from Metal International, and every Wednesday we get to spend some time with Nathaniel Getzel. I like to call him Get Sold. And he, of course, is our real estate expert inside metal. He's in the top 1% of the entire country. And he is here to give us the insight of what's going on, not just with the markets here in California, but around the world. And I'm really happy to hand over the baton to Nathaniel. Take it over, my friend.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to First Mover. We've had a lot of discussion recently about people moving from LA, where they're moving, are people actually moving, what's happening with the state. So I wanted to start off with something about, specifically about that, to answer some of your questions about that. So let me just do my share screen deal. I think this is it. And
political future.
Well, Dan, according to the Census Bureau, for the first time in state history, they're projecting that California could lose at least one seat in the House of Representatives, weakening its national political power.
This is literally our roots. It's my whole life is here, all my friends, my family, everything, and it sucks to leave all that and start somewhere new.
But Felton resident Katie Diego said that's what she feels she needs to do.
We're trying just to get out of that struggle and make it so we can give the kids more in the future, because here I don't feel like that's going to happen.
Katie lives with her 2 children and husband in her mother's 2-bedroom home.
So I'm grateful that I do have my mom, because a lot of people don't. And so with my mom's help, we've been able to save money that way.
And now after 5 years, she has her sights on greener, cheaper pastures in upstate New York.
Over there, it's $1,200 and you get 50 plus acres of land, and some even have 2 houses on them.
The median home price in Santa Cruz County is $827,000, compared to $153,000 in Niagara County, New York.
Yeah, it's just waiting to see which one we get and where.
She's already made several offers. With a storage shed full of her family's possessions, they're now playing the waiting game.
Once we get a place, we come here, load it back up in the trailers and the back of the trucks and go. Everything else is ready.
And she's not the only one. California is seeing a Golden State exodus. More Americans are leaving the state than moving into it, with a net loss of more than 1 million people over a decade.
I don't want to let go of my home and my roots. Everything's here.
As scared as Katie says she is to call another state her home, she says it's the risk worth taking for a better quality of life.
It's all like, as long as my kids are okay and we're not struggling, it's worth it. It's always going to be worth it, and it will always be worth it.
Now, it is important to note that overall, because of new people being born and international migration, California's population has not decreased, but it has slowed down significantly. This past year was the slowest growth rate since 1900. In the studio, Christopher Salas, KSPW.
all right.
Well, Nathaniel, it says a lot, right? And we're starting to see it. You know where I live. I live in a nice community, and we did a walk last night, and we were shocked by how many homes are on the market. And these are $2 to $5 million home range. So upper scale, but it was the most I've ever seen. So there is something happening. I'm not sure if they're moving out of the state or even out of the area, but a lot of those homes are up for sale.
Well, we'll get back to exactly where they're going and what the more specifics of that is. But one of the places that a lot of people are moving to right now is Nashville. And luckily, today, we're able to get one of the top agents in Nashville, Angela Wright. Angela, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So what is going on in Nashville? Well, tell us a little bit about what your background is there in Nashville first.
Yeah, thanks. I've been here in Nashville for about 19 years. I'm originally from just south of Atlanta, Georgia, but my family and I have called Nashville home for right about 19 years, and I've been in real estate in Nashville for that entire 19 years. I started off in the developer world and pretty much have had a hand in all of the high-rise residential buildings that Nashville has, and it's nothing like what you guys have out on the West Coast. So you know, we pioneered or represented one of the very first luxury high-rise condos, and really just parlayed that business from there. And then I started my own boutique brokerage called Abode, and did some small residential development myself, and represented lots of other developers in doing infill in and around the urban neighborhoods, and then have gotten into the suburban sprawl into Williamson County up here in Middle Tennessee. And then I launched Compass Nashville 2 years ago. So I am the first agent Compass had here in Nashville. They recruited me, and it's just been so great to grow the brokerage from just me to almost 300 agents here in 2 offices.
Sounds like you really know Nashville. So what's going on over there? What's the market like? Who's moving there?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that the news clip that you just showed is exactly what's happening here. I believe half of my buyer pool right now are West Coast buyers, and then probably about another quarter of that are just coastal buyers in general, and they're basically moving from high density areas into, I call it Middle Tennessee, because we have Nashville, of course, and that's what everybody thinks of. So that's Davidson County, Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, but just like depending on where you are, there are other surrounding counties that sometimes have lower property tax rates than what Davidson County has. Davidson County was just approved for a 31% property tax increase. And, at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal because
What does that mean, 31% increase? What does that mean?
In the property taxes, yes.
Like massive.
So yeah, it is pretty massive. But what I'm finding though,
But that's an increase from a percentage. What was the prior percentage for property taxes going from
so it's
what?
right about 2.5%.
2.5%?
Yeah. So it's, and I'm not seeing any disruption for my client pool. I do primarily deal with the higher end, but also, my team does help first time home buyers. And, we just want to make sure that people are making a wise investment. And so I don't see a disruption in it. People are still buying in Davidson County, even when they are Davidson County residents and put their homes up for sale, they're still buying in Davidson County. So they're not looking for a tax shelter in other surrounding counties. And I bring that up, of course, Davidson County is Nashville, and then Williamson County is just over the line on the south side. And that represents Franklin, Tennessee, Brentwood, Tennessee, Spring Hill, and the property taxes are even more favorable for these coastal buyers coming in. Not only do we have lesser taxes in Williamson County, the schools are rated the top in the state, and Tennessee also, we don't have a state income tax. So that's why we're seeing so many of these coastal buyers coming in from the dense, high density areas, and even like from Chicago and some of the Midwest areas as well.
But the taxes is the main thing.
Tax, yes.
Taxes,
And a lot of industry as well coming here for that tax shelter.
Yeah.
Angela, a couple of things that I was told. First, I believe we're seeing more construction cranes in downtown Nashville than any other city in America right now. So you guys—
You're exactly right.
Right. And then second, big tech firms, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, they are all building new campuses out there, aren't they?
They are, and interestingly enough, the new Facebook campus is actually east of Davidson County. So it's in an area called Lebanon, Tennessee. Not to be confused with Lebanon, but
No, but Lebanon, Tennessee, just to let you know, everyone, that's where the home of Cracker Barrel is. That's
yes.
Wow.
And just down the road is the Dollar General. I don't know if you guys have Dollar Generals on the West Coast, but they're also headquartered out that way. But, scooping up large tracts of farmland, again, for those tax shelters. And we're getting, Amazon also hiring lots of, they're really, even though we've had a little bit of a blip with unemployment, we had about a 9% unemployment rate. But with all of these tech firms coming in, they're really pumping in jobs into the community.
Right. Adam, I think you had a question. Go ahead and.
Yeah, so I actually have a question. I know there's a dividend tax there. How does that dividend tax work? Is it only stock dividends? What is it on? I know there's no state income tax. And one other thing I just posted on there that I happen to read is that the Daily Caller is moving their operations up.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. The Daily
The Daily Caller.
Ben Shapiro is moving out there. He's moving
Yeah.
from Beverly Hills and moving to Nashville.
Yeah. So we are, I mean, it's getting back to the dividend, you know, you still have, yes, you are taxed in other areas, and I highly suggest, you know, talking to your CPA to get dialed down onto which taxes are important to you. But even still, like the high net worth individuals that are coming here, the higher end, the 3 million plus, homes, the inventory, we're in the negative for absorption rate here in Davidson and Williamson County. I just had a $5.5 million house, multiple bidding wars on that, and sold it in 2 weeks, which, you know, used to, I would say even 12 months ago, that would have taken, you know, we would not have been in a multiple bidding war on that property. But
right there as
By
well.
the way, what is the multifamily market like there, and the mobile home market like there in terms of the parks for investment purposes?
so those are being absorbed really quickly, and you're seeing the cash on cash with that is really the name of the game. I have a lot of investor clients that live elsewhere, and you know they'll go into these like the rural areas to purchase those. One I just sold, it was in Murray County, which is southeast of Davidson County or Nashville. And really they're being purchased for the dirt, for the land, because the land is worth more and they're just holding on to it long term. The multifamily, those prices, a lot of investors I'm seeing back away from those just because those have already seen their increase, and you know it depends on what your cap rate is and to what you're willing to pay per door. So and of course that changes depending on the MSA that you go into as well.
There's an old saying, Angela, that you're going to go somewhere, you got to pick a disaster to live with. Here in California, we have earthquakes and fires. Florida has got hurricanes. Illinois, Chicago's got tornadoes. What's the disaster we get to live with if we move to Nashville?
Humidity. No, we do have a lot of humidity right now as I'm sitting outside, but you know, Nashville did experience a pretty considerable tornado back in March. So it really hit East Nashville, which is one of the urban neighborhoods here in the city. It hit it pretty hard and took out a lot of businesses and many homes. And then it went eastward. So going towards Gallatin and Lebanon, out that way as well. And then of course, COVID came right after that. So that was a double whammy for us, but I know the rest of the country's dealing with COVID as well.
Yeah. And the other thing is nightlife. There's a pretty big nightlife out there, isn't there?
You know, interestingly, yes. But when my then boyfriend wanted to move to Nashville, my first comment was, I hate country music, because that's what I considered Nashville was all about, country music. And I was very, now that I've been here and call Nashville home, it's such a cultural mecca we have, you know, it is of course known for country music, but a lot of rock, there's gospel and a lot of blues, and it has a very intertwined fabric of art, sculpture, still art. A lot of the film industry has come here as well. We have Nashville Film Festival. And so, you know, we have healthcare here that's growing by leaps and bounds as well, with HCA being headquartered here for one.
And per population, more Michelin star restaurants than any other city in America.
I tell you what, our food scene is just so robust, and it's so fun. I used to try to go to each opening, and it's just impossible to keep up with that now.
Yeah, friends of mine went to Nashville, Miami, and Nevada, being Las Vegas, and checked out the scenes because of the tax-free states.
Yeah.
And they went to Las Vegas, especially the Strip. They said it was a dump. You know, it was just dumpy, just crappy type feel. Humidity and a lot of old people, like people that shouldn't be driving in their 90s. And then Nashville was almost like unexpectedly awesome. They were shocked.
Great to hear.
Yeah, and the weather is incredibly temperate. You don't have hard winters.
No.
And everything is easy to get around at. So it was a shocker.
Yeah, absolutely. You can be in downtown, and then within 15 minutes, you can be on the lake, you can be on a river, you can be in an incredible hike in one of the Tennessee hills. You know, we are now getting a Four Seasons hotel and private residences. I just toured a group of investors, developers for the Ritz-Carlton residences that's proposed to come to Nashville. So I think that speaks volumes for where we are as a city and the elevated culture with you know, an outdoor lifestyle that you can have because of that climate that we offer, and then of course the tax shelters that we have and the affordability.
So you see more people going for investment or to move there for lifestyle?
Yeah, both. Absolutely both. So coastal buyers are coming because they want to get out of the high density, like even if they're in a brownstone or a townhouse or a flat, you know, they want land, they want a pool in their backyard, they want space for their kids to run around and be able to walk their dogs. So I'm getting that, but then I'm also working with a client from New York who he's in the finance world with Alliance Bernstein. And so he's able to he's going to be moving here permanently, keeping his apartment in New York, and then going to be calling Nashville his primary residence for the tax shelter, but still being able to be transient back and forth to New York as well.
And where are you seeing people coming from? Where are they migrating from to move to Nashville?
You said coastal, but where? Like where?
Oh yeah. So San Francisco, LA, Newport Beach, Calabasas, up in Chicago is also in and around Chicago. All the even the suburbians from Chicago are coming down. I'm finding folks that are like in Oregon, they're moving here. A lot of folks are, whether they're empty nesters or retiring or even young professionals. Nashville is a very strong entrepreneurial city as well. So, you know, we're kind of seeing, going back to your Las Vegas comment, you know, it's not the 90-year-olds driving around in a car. It's a very diverse population.
That was Miami.
Oh, well, sorry, Miami.
It's a refreshing thing to hear, because Nashville was not on our radar until, I guess, one, COVID, two is just taxes. California taxes on individual tax could eventually go up to 15, maybe even 20%. So by looking at a place like yours really brings it up. What is it, me or is it Dark Angela's? Yeah, Mighty Paul, she is in Nashville at hockey duty, right?
That's right. So my son plays travel hockey for the Nashville Junior Predators, and it's my night to drive. And I was telling Nathaniel earlier, I apologize, I'm not with a beautiful skyline view behind me, but it's the rink and it's dark. It's 7:20 almost here.
So guys, before we let Angela go, any last questions for Angela? Anyone?
Mighty Paul, looked like you had a question just burning in your mind there.
No, one of the things that I was surprised is I didn't realize that 3/4 of the U.S. population is within a 150-mile radius of Nashville.
Yes, and do you know why that is?
No, I did not.
Okay, it's because we have CSX has a headquarters here, the rail station, and then the interstate system that we have here as well. So trucking is really big for transportation. So literally, you know, we have B&A, the airport. So
FedEx too, right?
Yeah, it's because of that, and because of the access that Nashville has to the rest of the country.
Amazing.
Great question.
I have a follow-up question. What's the size of the Nashville airport, and does it have easy access to LA, New York, and international flights?
Well, I can speak with confidence because my husband is a pilot. So, so direct flights to LA, direct flights to New York with ease. I take those flights quite a bit, no problems there. The B&A, the Nashville International Airport, is currently under a massive expansion, and we're adding another terminal. So we've even got a direct flight to London right now. We did. I need to since COVID, I'm not sure if it's running at the moment, but we were having direct flights to London, which we're really excited about.
Delta Airlines round trip is $200 on Delta.
Wow. Easy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
really inexpensive, and multiple times in a day. So it wasn't something like, oh, it's going to be a pain in the butt to get to.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Angela, I know you have to run, but I have a quick question for you,
Yeah.
actually. What is the age group that you see most interested? I know a lot of people have been telling me the music scene's amazing there, and a lot of younger people have recently told me we're moving to Nashville. Is that what you're seeing there as well? Or is this, you're seeing a wider range of ages?
Yeah, no, I see a wider range. Case in point, I've got clients that moved here from Oregon. They don't have any family here, but they wanted the climate and they wanted to be in, you know, a walkable neighborhood that was affordable and comfortable, and affordable was like, you know, under $1 million. So I'm finding that even like the empty nesters and folks that are just wanting to retire want to be here because of, like, we have so much outdoor activity here and they want to be part of the vibrancy.
Got it.
That's
Perfect.
great. Angela, if people want to find you, hunt you, where do they go?
Yeah, so my name's Angela Wright, Wright, and I'm on Instagram at Abode Nashville, or my email address is angela.wright@compass.com.
ABOUD, Angela?
Oh,
So Angela is ANGELA dot.
Abode.
Oh, Abode. Abode is ABODE, like my humble abode. So
Got it.
Abode Nashville, and
Look-
Abode Nashville. AbodeNashville.com is my website.
I'll put a link in the thing.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, guys, feel free to reach out and let me know how I can help.
I had one last question. Ethan, you want to ask Angela?
Yeah, sorry, I'm driving, so I don't want to. I gotta hold my phone up. But what are the lockdown measures there? Is it like half open, quarter open, or restaurants open, or outside seating?
Yeah, outside seating, mask mandate, of course. Well, that also depends on county. Williamson County does not have a mask mandate any longer. It expired unless you're in a government building. Davidson County, which is Nashville, still has their mask mandate. And schools are virtual in Davidson County. But you can, the restaurants are at half capacity, but everyone's offering curbside and, you know, of course, dining outside as well, which the weather is perfect for that.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Great question.
Before you disappear into the darkness,
Sorry, guys.
we will see you again. Absolutely.
Let's see.
Oh, there we
Good.
kind of, yeah. All right, perfect.
Angela, thank you so much for being on First Mover. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. Great to meet you all.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
So Nathaniel, when someone says, hey, I want to move out of Los Angeles, and you go, oh God, all right, I'm going to lose somebody. Is there a way for you to still maintain that relationship and help them through the process? So if they elect to go to Vegas or Nashville or Miami, are you able to still be part of that process to help them out?
Yeah, absolutely. I have partners just like Angela and like Mike Bowie, who we've seen, and all people all over the country, actually. So I can help people wherever they're going. So when I see people moving, I go, great. It's just the next step. You know, let me help you buy in Nashville, Florida, not New York anymore because no one's going there, but you know, wherever they want to go, Colorado, for example. And you know, we have a lot of knowledge of what's going on, and I partner with somebody there with for, you know, door opening and local knowledge, things like that. But I can help people wherever they go. Absolutely.
But when they want to stay, it seems like there's this interesting rush to go to Calabasas. Calabasas is like this area that doesn't seem like it's suffering from the same thing as Los Angeles is. People are staying. If anything, they're moving into Calabasas, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who, there's a big push from the West Side and places that are more congested and have more problems like homelessness and things like that, of moving to Calabasas. It has some of the best schools, a wonderful lifestyle. It seems very safe and clean. So yeah, people definitely are wanting to move there.
Why? What makes Calabasas unique? Is there a way we could learn a little more about Calabasas?
There is in fact. Lucky for us, we have the senior, I want to say his thing right, senior planner for Calabasas, right here with us.
By the way,
Actually,
Glenn, that was called a segue.
I understand that, and I'm really glad that Nathan got my title right, because he was wanting to call me, I think, mayor earlier
You can
and
make it, Mayor.
director.
I wanted to call him King of Calabasas, but you know, he told me no, that he might get in some trouble for that one, you know.
I might. I'm sure there's a few kings around Calabasas that would not appreciate me being a king as well. But thanks for inviting me to the show. It's kind of interesting for me. Usually when I'm on TV of some kind, it's a public hearing, and everyone hates me because I've either taken too long with their project, or I've recommended approval of a project, and I just can't win. I'm usually on the wrong side of both those arguments. But just a little bit about me. I have a background in environmental science, and I've held positions with a state agency called the Coastal Commission that protects resources along the California coast. And then I've held positions for both the city of Malibu and now for the city of Calabasas, where I've been the longest, which is about 18 years now. So I have some relatively good history with the city, and it's been actually a wonderful city to work for a lot of reasons. But basically, I'll kind of go over a little bit about what urban planners do for those that may not know that. We implement the city's land use and development policies. Every city needs to have a general plan in California, which is its blueprint essentially for the city. And then through that, we have a series of development codes that implement the development policies of the general plan. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do. On a day-to-day level, you may interact with us because you want to build a house, and you're going to be handing me a set of plans, and I'm going to review them, and we're probably going to go through some kind of a hearing process to get hopefully an approval for you, and then send you off to build your dream home. So that's kind of the day-to-day that we usually do. A little bit about the city of Calabasas. We are a small city. We are incorporated in 1991 after a bitter battle with Los Angeles County. I believe it was an 8-year battle, and they finally threw up their hands because we fought so hard, and they allowed us to become our own city. Where we adopted our own set of rules, and people could stay local and elect local leaders and whatnot. So that was a positive for our area. We're located basically just northwest of the city of Los Angeles. You can think of LA as two large basins. The San Fernando Valley is the northernmost basin, and we're just outside of the city limits to the northwest. So I think we're lucky in a lot of ways. We don't have to be in a very, very dense city of Los Angeles. And we have on our southern side a whole open space area, which is the Santa Monica Mountains, which is a national recreation area. There's all sorts of trails, state parks, camping, hiking, horseback riding, all sorts of fun stuff, which I think makes Calabasas an attractive place to be. I think someone was mentioning that everyone likes moving to Calabasas, and those are probably some of the reasons why.
But Glenn, you started with something saying people are going to either love me or hate me. Why would they hate you?
Well, I'm a bureaucrat. I mean, you've heard terms such as red tape. You've heard terms such as the city doesn't want me to build what I want to build, or won't let me build what I want to build. We get all of it. I've been doing this now over 22 years, and I'm liked by a few and hated by a lot because they walk in and already I'm the government, I'm the bad person, right? Because I'm going to make them do something. I'm going to make them give me a fee. I'm going to hold them up time-wise for what they can do. There's reasons that cities do all of that, but this is the layperson coming in doesn't know all the background of what and why we do what we do. And so I
want to make sure we understand something. You're saying you're the bad person. That sounds horrible the way you're placing it. I would say that you're there for preservation of the environment that you guys established a while ago, and you want to maintain that preservation and that construct of what Calabasas is. That's your job.
That's correct. And I do joke around about being the bad guy. I don't really have enemies, but there's just a lot of people that don't agree with that preservation because it sometimes cuts into what they want to do. I'll give you a good example. Just recently, we went to a planning commission hearing for a residence that was requesting a reduced setback to a rear yard for a rather large home in a neighborhood. And we recommended denial for the first time, and I can't remember how long. And that homeowner was not happy with that decision, but we would have been granting them a privilege that no other person really had to get a house of a decent size. So it's really, you know, we spend a lot of time balancing issues. That's what we do. If you want to build a house in a neighborhood, you know, we kind of look around and say, is what they're building kind of fair and comparable to what's in the neighborhood? Some might have heard the term mini mansions or whatnot, and that's, you know, a very common term. And that's what happens is there's a lot of these small lots that were recorded in, you know, 30, 40, 50 or more years ago. And now everyone wants to build larger than what their neighbor has. And so you get these really large homes on these very small lots, and communities that the neighborhood grows and grows and grows. And you're dealing with different personalities, and a lot of personalities that have been around for a while don't like seeing their city change.
Let me ask Nathaniel. Nathaniel, because of people like Glenn, in theory, don't they really actually help with property values?
Yes, I would say they do. The more, if you look at areas that have more regulations that are more
stringent.
Yeah, more stringent, they tend to be higher value. They tend to be a nicer environment, and they're more desirable. I mean, look at a lot of the central coast of California. The reason it's so very expensive is it's so hard to build. Now, like compared to Austin, Texas, which when I was there, it seemed they had no building codes whatsoever. I saw, you know, a high rise next to a preschool, next to a dump, basically, right? So you see people like Glenn prevent that from happening. I mean, Adam, he has a great view and he lives in a beautiful luxury community, right? But I'm sure he wouldn't want someone being able to build.
I've been trying to put a gas station up next to Adam, and I'm
right,
having a good time.
yeah, right there.
So Glenn, let's really dive into this. What are some of the most common things that you right away put your foot down on, saying, no way, ain't gonna happen, besides something that is unreasonably big for that lot size? What's another thing, something people try to sneak in there?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that we've avoided for a long time now, which is nightclubs. The city of Calabasas never wanted to become a city where people came to be in an entertainment center. They want to be a sleepier community. They want to raise children there. They want quiet neighborhoods. And often we get entrepreneurs coming in to take up old restaurant spaces and seeing if they can kind of put in a half restaurant, but at night it turns into, you know, a dance club and live music and whatnot. And the city's really resisted that over the years. We've had some in the area that have persisted. You may recognize names of the past like Pelican's Retreat, which was there for a long time. Sagebrush Cantina is still there, although technically just outside our city limits, so it's not part of our jurisdiction. But residents in our city don't really like that around. And the other thing I'll mention about that is from a revenue perspective, the biggest revenue taker of a city is in a contract city, especially like Calabasas, is sheriff services. Sheriff services account for, I think it's something like 2.5 million or more a year of our revenue stream. So, and they keep growing every year. So when you have a lot of nightclubs, it results in a lot of sheriff activity. And we have, for the dollar value we spend, a certain amount of money that it provides a certain amount of employees. If they have to call extra sheriff deputies in to break up a situation, we get charged extra. So that's another reason why we tend to avoid that. But I think, coming to Nathan's point too, that really a quieter neighborhood in an area with a great education system tends to increase the property values.
It makes a lot of sense. Besides nightclubs, let's talk about actually home construction. What are other things people try to get in that you would say no to? Besides a petting zoo, which Nathaniel loves to have, but what other things?
Only on Tuesdays.
But what else is trying to be, again, trying to get in there without you knowing it, or something on existing development and they're trying to put inside the home?
You know, we don't really have restrictions like that. I think our main fights have to deal with the size that's in comparison to the size of other homes in the neighborhood. Occasionally we'll get someone that wants to put in animals. It's rare, and they're usually on parcels that are okay for that kind of use. We do have parcels that are a little bit more in the, I'll call it rural for lack of a better term, areas of Calabasas that have more acreage that can really accommodate that. But occasionally playgrounds will rub people the wrong way because they'll put them in the front yard or close to a property line, and they don't want to hear the kids, shouting all the time. But really, people try, and I think to build without permits, and that's a big no-no in Calabasas. It's a symptom of having a tough process to have to go through. We'll get a lot of weekend warriors, and they'll go out there and they'll try to renovate or even add on to the house. We've caught people halfway into framing an addition on their house that never bothered to go through the process and pull the proper permits. So it's more that kind of things. And then I'll add that Calabasas is very, it's oak trees. It sounds kind of odd, but it's kind of what makes the character of Calabasas even a little bit more rustic, I guess is a good word for it. And many people like the oak trees, but they get in the way. We protect them. We protect them like you wouldn't believe. So if you have an oak tree on your property, to take that thing out is it's almost like pulling teeth. It's really hard. I mean, it's a great resource to protect, but not everyone likes the fact that we protect these things to the intensity that we do.
Nathaniel, when you're looking at a property in Calabasas, what do you think are the things that really sell people to say, yeah, I got to buy here, or why it's a great market? If you can sell a home there, what's going to get people to buy that home quickly? What gets you excited, Nathaniel?
Right. Well, in Calabasas, it's almost like two different cities. There's that rural part that Glenn was talking about, which has the big lots and the privacy and you feel like you're out in the country, and that's for privacy and safety and room. And then in the rest of Calabasas, it's a lot of gated communities and a higher end home. So in that area, it would be more families and people looking for the schools and convenience and safety and quiet. So it's usually some combination of those things. And also it's close to the freeway, so easy to get into the city, into Malibu, or out into Ventura.
Got it. What's the biggest challenge to Calabasas right now? Because you have to be very assertive to make sure, again, the integrity and the culture of what you're trying to maintain in Calabasas maintains itself. What's the biggest threats to you?
I'll tell you what the biggest threat lately has been, and it's caused by the COVID pandemic, oddly enough. There's a set of issues that we've had to adjust to try to maintain operating a city through COVID and all the county's health officer rules and what's closed down, what can operate, what can't. But the one kind of byproduct that's come of it lately is these influencers, and you might have seen a lot in the news about parties that kids are having. They'll rent out properties and they throw these huge parties. No one's social distancing, no one's wearing masks. And they're in a lot of these gated communities. And as Nathan appropriately pointed out, that people live in these gated communities because they want privacy and quiet. Now all of a sudden their street has cars lined up and down, people partying all night long, being noisy, walking through the neighborhoods. There was even a party we had to break up the other day that was thrown by some strippers, oddly enough, and it was a quote-unquote stripper party, which I'd never heard of before. But
if there's another one, you should at least let us know about it before you break it up. Is this-
All right, I'm not sure I'm dialed into which website you got to go to get to that.
But let's talk about that, the Airbnb issue, because I mean, I live in a very affluent area, and a home 2 doors down from me, an 8,000 square foot home, is an Airbnb, and it drives us crazy. Do you have anything to prevent from that happening, or is Airbnbs available everywhere out there?
We absolutely do. It might be different if you went on the Airbnb site. We tend to try to monitor that, but we've passed an ordinance that does not allow Airbnbs to operate in the city of Calabasas anywhere. So, and that's, I think, probably appropriate to our community. No one was into them. No one likes them for the same reasons. There's disruption to neighborhoods. You know, Airbnbs are short-term rentals, and so you have people constantly coming in, going out, different personalities. There's some are quiet, some are not. You know, and if you're, again, trying to just raise your kids and live a quiet life, it does become difficult. And we don't have it so much in our.
Then how do you monitor that, and how do you prevent that from happening?
Well, we'll go online and we'll look up where the Airbnbs are. Airbnb throws up a lot of dummy sites too. It's a kind of a marketing tactic they have to when you click on a property that looks really nice, all it says is, sorry, this one's booked, but try this one over here. We went through an effort where we sent out letters to different homeowners that were connected to Airbnb, and I think half of them came back with, what? What do you mean I'm connected to Airbnb? They didn't realize their house was just being used by them as a quote unquote dummy property.
Wow, Nathaniel, that's an interesting topic, by the way, for later on.
That is interesting.
That really. So if someone does have an Airbnb, it is their home, they are out of the country, the home is on the market, what do you do?
Well, I think we start by sending our code enforcement team over and informing them about the violation and that they have to cease and desist doing that. If they want to push the issue, then we have a city prosecutor we can go to. We don't want to go down that route, but city has pretty strong police powers, and people tend not to want to believe that until they get into the room with our city prosecutor. And I can tell you this, that they're very good at what they do, and they'll get their jaws into you. They will not let go.
Nathaniel, tell me about the schools in that area.
Oh, Las Virgenes schools, it absolutely has some of the best schools in all of California, but certainly it's far better than all of LAUSD. Las Virgenes, which basically covers Calabasas and Agora. So they have the best school. And actually, funny enough, for all of you that were on a couple of weeks ago, when we were showing the house in Bell Canyon is in Ventura County, but goes to Las Virgenes schools because it would be impossible for them to get out to Simi Valley. So
Glenn, how do you look at
those? But they're absolutely the premium schools.
Glenn, how do you look at what LA County is compared to what Calabasas is? How do you operate differently, and how do you operate in conjunction?
Well, LA counties are kind of umbrella jurisdiction. We were part of LA County before we incorporated, and now we're just within LA County. We more or less operate independently. We do cross in a few areas. Los Angeles operates a large flood control district, and a small city like us, management of flood issues that are connected to larger systems are a little bit trickier to manage. We could do it if we want to, but we prefer not to. And so when a development is first constructed, we'll encourage whatever debris basin, detention basin, or flood control devices, hopefully will get transferred to LA County to maintain. Lighting's another one. Lighting kind of persists not just within our city and it ends at the borders, right? It's a broader system. And so the county has a lighting district. And so, we pay, through revenue. So when we collect revenue, what we're getting is the very end stream of everything. So sales tax, we have a utility users tax, and property taxes all get funneled from the state down to the county. And we're on the very, very bottom of that chain. So the county gets quite a bit of money from us, and that's one of the services it'll provide is lighting. So, I mean, I think that's an important one too, because in a developed city and for safety and security purposes, you want well-lit streets, you know, until you go into the rural areas, and then people prefer it to be a little darker out there. But those are two big ways that we kind of cross with the county.
It looks like Ethan's going to the Cobra Kai dojo right now in Encino. All right, or Reseda. The Cobra Kai dojo. Forget it, guys. If you haven't watched Cobra Kai, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So as you look at what's going on in Calabasas, you've had the opportunity to work in other markets you spoke about. What are you doing that's insanely unique to Calabasas that everybody else looks at going, oh, we got to copy that?
Now or in the past? I have a good one in the past. We were the first city to ban smoking.
What?
The very first city in this country to ban smoking, and we caught a lot of crap, for lack of a better word, for going there. A lot of people saying that they were infringing on their rights, and then uniquely enough, we had a lot of cities that wrote us notes to say bravo. You know, we were hoping that someone would have the courage to go out on a limb here and do that.
And when you say smoking, you're saying smoking in any public environment. The homes they could smoke in.
That's correct. That's correct. You can smoke in your house, but if you have, if you live in a multifamily development, you're supposed to put aside just a certain percentage of the units as smoking units, and the rest of those units are non-smoking units, so they can't be rented to someone and they smoke even in their own home then. So that's unique, or the common areas of even those developments. So it's fairly stringent.
That's bold.
But on the other hand, I'll have to note that the enforcement mechanism was not built to be necessarily punitive. So the intent of it is, if you're smoking, let's say you're walking down the city street and you're smoking a cigarette, it's late at night and nobody else is around, technically you're not in violation of the rule because you're not in contact with anyone. The whole point is to keep smoke out of contact with other people. And it began with a high school student who was, I think, LaPan in our Calabasas Commons area, enjoying a meal, and there was a bench right outside of the area that the tables were in, and they lit up a cigarette. The high school student had asked the person to please put out their cigarette. They refused, and next thing you know, we had an ordinance.
Last question for me, Nathaniel, and that is, because COVID has taken a lot of businesses out, we've seen a lot of either boarded up or they put their business on pause. What are you going to do to encourage these businesses to get back in business?
I'm glad you asked that. We've been at this for quite a bit now. You know, we closed down in March, and over the course of time here, businesses have been allowed to reopen, then they had to partially close again, and kind of this yo-yo effect. It's been really tough on them. I think one of the biggest things we've done, I mean, there's two things I really want to get into here. One is that, and it kind of crosses what I do, because zoning standards typically will require you to have a certain amount of parking for every business, and which is a good thing usually. But during these pandemic times, when people just aren't going out as much, now we have parking lots that are empty, county health orders that say you can only operate outside. And so we thought, hey, why don't we let them operate outside in parking areas and on city rights of way? You know, again, because we have a lot of parking around the city too. So why not be business friendly? Because that helps everybody out, you know, including the city. And we have it's a no cost process to go through. It's called a temporary use permit. All you gotta do is give us a set of plans that shows kind of basically what you're doing. And our basic intent is to make sure that all health and safety issues are well taken care of. So if you're gonna be in a parking area next to a drive aisle, some kind of a barrier between you and the cars, so cars won't hopefully come in and hit you. If you're running electrical lines out, that those are put up in a way that isn't a tripping hazard or a shock hazard to people. So, and we're trying to turn them around within a matter of days.
Got it.
So we really wanted to be business friendly. The
Got it.
second thing that we're doing that I think is really unique and I frankly applaud our city council for doing is we've allocated $1 million of grants, grants that you do not have to pay back for small business owners that they can use for I'll call it re-startup costs, right? Because they're closed down. So for any kind of improvement that's COVID related, they can get up to $10,000 per business to help them. Like, let's say it's a restaurant, put partitions in between tables. If they have to move any operation outside, they can use it for any kind of capital cost that arises out of all that. So I thought that was a pretty unique program to do. And we're a city that is revenue healthy enough to be able to provide that.
I love it. I love it. Nathaniel,
Yeah.
why aren't you living in Calabasas?
Hey, I'm close. I'm close by. I edge closer every day. Now, especially with the kiddo, definitely would be a solution to paying for private school. I'll tell you that. That seems like the way to go.
But Calabasas is definitely a premium location, right? Right, Nathaniel?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely one of the premium, one of the most desirable, really, in Los Angeles. You know, you look at the Calabasas, and they're all different, right? Calabasas, Malibu, Beverly Hills, Bel Air.
So Glenn, can we follow you on TikTok? I'm kidding. I'm kidding, not TikTok.
I haven't set it up just yet. If this city job falls through, I might go to being an influencer and throwing somebody's parties. I hear they pay very well.
The stripper parties are pretty good, I heard.
You got to work your way up to that, though. You got to start small.
You know,
Good, Nathaniel.
showing that. I had a question for Glenn, and it kind of had to go back to the effects of COVID, right? And obviously, you know, a lot of people are changing the way they live due to COVID. And I ask you because you're obviously the senior planner, not king, but senior planner. So, okay. And like Ethan, he's looking to move out to the desert. Edwin, he's making a major change of how he's living. You know, and a lot of the guys here have talked about moving to different places or possibly changing their situations. So from a perspective as a planner, I mean, right? Because if you look at like the concentric growth pattern, the multiple nuclei pattern, the axial sprawl patterns, all those are different ways that cities have grown historically, but they all were based around either train or car transportation. Now with Zoom, you know, a lot of people never have to go back into their job, so their transportation is less important. What do you think is going to happen with that? Is that going to affect the way cities grow or the way, you know?
I think in general it will. I'm not sure Calabasas will be affected so much. People really love their cars in Calabasas. We have a robust public transit system and nobody uses it. So, which is interesting.
Very clean.
Yeah. But I think in general, yeah, I think Zoom is going to change the way a lot of us work. You know, I've actually been excited about the lack of traffic on our freeways. You can get to downtown LA in 20 minutes now on most days. So, I mean, that's something that's great. Pollution's gone down in cities. I think those are all positive. I think people are going to realize that they don't need to be in an office to do a lot of the things that they do. All the big tech companies are talking about they may never go back. You know, I think those are all positive trends. In terms of what they do development-wise to a city, only time will really tell what COVID does. If I were to speculate, and this is just speculation, I think it may drive some people out of city centers. You know, New York got hit very, very hard with COVID because it was a very dense city. A lot of people living together in close proximity. You know, apartment buildings, you have to go up and down in an elevator. People are scared right now. You know, this is a big event that affects all of us in many ways. So I'm lucky enough not to live in a downtown area in an apartment complex where I have to do this. We've been lucky. No one in my family has contracted COVID. I think we're some of the lucky ones. I think people that are in other communities and another example is disadvantaged areas, right? This disease tends to disproportionately attack Black and Latino in our state. So there's communities that are more diverse in those cultures, and they've been hit really, really hard. And that no one knows exactly why just yet. I'm sure the science will catch up, and they'll try to figure out why that is. But it could change development patterns there. You never know. So it's just kind of prediction. My hope and desire is that we'll go to more of home environments, and traffic and pollution are going to continue to persist to be better than what they have been in the past. You know, the one aside here is our pollution's been terrible because of all the wildfires, which is of course another huge issue for this state is wildfires, since most of our state's on fire right now.
So Glenn, let's just say you're going to leave California. Where are you going to move?
Well, you know, my wife and I have talked about this quite often. We're both born and raised here in California, and I think it would be tough for us to move. But right now, we're leaning towards Santa Fe, New Mexico, if we were to have to leave the state. It's beautiful. My wife's an architect and very into the art scene. We're foodies. We love to cook. We love Southwestern style food, and there's plenty of that there. That's really amazing.
You might want to check out Nashville.
Hey, you know what? It could be. I've never been. I've always wanted to go, and maybe I'll look Andrea up and give Nashville a try. If nothing else, to listen to a little music, right?
I'm telling you, my friends, Nashville, Vegas, or Florida, they're going after Nashville now. That's a big switch. Or Austin, and they said no, it's not Austin anymore. It's Nashville. That's like the hot spot. But hey, Glenn, you were fascinating. You really are, and thanks for taking time out with us. Any other communities in Los Angeles area you find do good city planning, or is really Calabasas the pinnacle of everything?
Well, no, I know a lot of planners from previous employments, and I kind of keep touch with what's around. You know, I think the South Bay cities are all doing some pretty good things down there, and have kind of like Calabasas-like communities, right? A little higher end, really well kept, lots of interesting things to do down there. Up until recently, I liked what downtown LA was kind of doing. I mean, really, LA lacked a sense of place for many, many years. And, you know, with Eli Broad kind of taking up that effort and really starting to develop the downtown, the trend kind of caught on there for a while. You know, we got the new Staples Center and the convention center upkeep and all the development, the LA Live, everything that's gone on around there. And it's kind of become an entertainment center down there. Again, I don't know what COVID's going to do. It might drive some people away from that situation, which I hope it doesn't. I mean, I think city centers are important. They certainly are places we can put additional housing and hopefully increase our housing stock there and put people kind of close to where they work. And you know, even with Zoom, some people would be nice to just like to live, work in their own homes.
Right. What do you think of Santa Clarita, Glenn? Real quick, sorry to cut you off.
Santa Clarita, I find really interesting. I think the concept I like best out there are these kind of developed pockets, and interspersed between them are connected trail systems and community centers that people can use. I really like that concept a lot. Otherwise, I don't really spend that much time out there. They might have done more in the last, you know, few years that I'm unaware of. But I think it's a great community. I've never spent time out there where it seemed, you know, threatening in any way. It seemed like pretty lively out there. It seems like a lot of open space interface you can do, kind of like Calabasas with local trails and other areas. The one thing that I think I would be concerned if I were to move out there was it seems like every year there's a fire out there, and a pretty good sized one. I don't know why that is, but it seems like every year there's always something up in the Santa Clarita, Valencia area.
There you go.
Got it.
Nathaniel, you brought another fantastic guest on today. I'm excited for you and Glenn to go out and have a few drinks and really talk about city planning and make him your friend, not your foe.
That's right. Glenn is definitely a stronger friend than foe.
There you go.
Definitely.
Hey, Glenn, thank you so much for sharing time with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me to the show. It was great. I had a very, very good time.
All right. Nathaniel, what do you got in store for us for next week?
Next week, we have some new exciting locations and a little bit more about how our city and the value of properties is going to be changing in a pretty dramatic way.
Great. People want to find you, Nathaniel, where do they go?
They can go to Getzels Group on Instagram, or you can go to my website, Getzels Group.
There you go. That's all there. Nathaniel and everyone else, thanks a lot for sharing time with us. Thanks a lot for being part of the First Mover. And we'll see you all next week. All right, everyone?
Thanks, Nathaniel.
Thank you.
Bye, Nathaniel.
Thank you, Corinne.
everyone.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Daniel. It was great.